Bye-bye, America.
I'm so lonely, so lonely, so lonely inside real alone. There's no one, just me only, sitting on my little throne. I work very hard and make up great plans, but nobody listens, no one understands. Why aren't more people intelligent, like me? Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
The marshal did one thing, you know, it was amazing how they were so honest. And then one thing that, guess what? His grandfather and his father were great leaders. And he's such a proud man. He's proud. His country like him, not like him, love him. Love him, and guess what?
Yes,
I love him. I love the guy's awesome.
Waking up one day and realizing that you were born on a completely different planet, and everything you learned was lie, and the heroes you worship were actually monstrous villains.
Freedom of religion, there's no freedom of thought, there's no freedom of press.
The regime told us we are living in utopia, but
We are captured in a huge virtual prison.
Sometimes people will die through torture and there's no recourse.
너무 매우 많이 아팠어요. 내가 북한 사람을 도와야겠구나.
제가 교회는 또 이렇게 처음 또 이렇게 방문을 전화로만 이렇게 간절하게 막.
그 우리 저기 북쪽에서 넘어온 아이. 엄마가 지금 여기 와 있어요.
네, 목사님.
예.
그 장벽에서 지금 사람 가서 지금 나왔는데요.
저씨가 어디서? 맨발
같이 가서 구출하도록 하고.
정말 감사합니다.
우리가 그 오는 장벽에서 나오는 구간이 첼로 좀. 스파 찰리 여기 위험한 버스 뒤로 가 뒤로.
지금 아들도 다 피하고 뭐 죽을 것 같더라고.
불은 어때요? 불었어요? 어때요?
그 비가 오니까 조금 불어가지고서
이 정도면 애가 위험한데.
못해 떨어지지도 못하고 두고 있.
너무 여유가 없는 시간.
살아있대요.
제가 어떻게든 제가 어미가 돼가지고.
버리고 싶어서 버린 것도 아니고, 그리고 대다수 한국사들이 지금 생계를 위해서.
Hey there, fellow content enthusiasts. This is Quality Content QC, and today we're diving into the making of our latest video. In a world of transparency and democracy, North Korea remains a mysterious enigma, primarily due to its enigmatic leader, Kim Jong Un, who for an extensive period dominated its narrative with an unyielding iron fist. Born to North Korea's respected founder, Kim Il-sung, on a frigid February day in 1941, Kim Jong-il was an esteemed heir from the beginning. Raised amid the dignified simplicity of the ruling elite, Jong-il's influential education started at Pyongyang's respected university, where his focus was political economy. This was the start of a meticulous preparation journey that would equip him for his destiny. His father, Kim Il-sung, was an omnipresent guide during this period, shaping his worldview, ideologies, and offering him initial governmental roles. Jong-il's initial assignment was in the propaganda and agitation department, a role that gave him power over the media and arts, key influencers of North Korean public sentiment. From the start, Jong-il was destined to inherit his father's momentous legacy. He received extensive grooming, both scholastically and practically, to continue the family's ruling lineage. It was more than upholding a family name. It was about perpetuating a unique political ideology deeply embedded in the national consciousness. The 70s signified the commencement of Kim Jong-il's strategic ascendancy. It was a period of calculated moves through North Korea's political maze. It was a time filled with acute fear and uncertainty, when the Cold War was shaping the country's policies, both domestic and international. Jong-il, despite lacking military experience, expertly positioned himself as the undeniable heir to his father's throne. His political shrewdness, comprehensive grooming from his father, and the culture of unswerving loyalty to the Kim family cultivated during the 70s were instrumental in his rise. Over time, Jong-il's influence grew, and he increasingly seen as his father's successor. His leadership style was marked by utmost control, and he used propaganda to reinforce his authority. Jong-il's reign saw the country isolated from the rest of the world, further enhancing North Korea's enigmatic status. These experiences and circumstances solidified Jong-il's position and equipped him to helm the country in his exclusive style. His leadership was defined by assertiveness and secrecy, traits that further deepened North Korea's mystery. Despite its isolation, the country remained resilient under Jong-il's rule, upholding its unique political ideology. The 70s marked the beginning of Kim Jong-il's tactical rise to power, a period where he deftly maneuvered his way through the intricate labyrinth of the North Korean political landscape. It was a time of deep-rooted fear and uncertainty, with the Cold War influencing the country's internal and external policies. Despite having no military experience, Kim Jong-il strategically positioned himself as the undisputed successor to his father. This was a testament to his political acumen, his father's grooming, and the climate of unyielding loyalty to the Kim family fostered within North Korea during the 70s. Kim Jong-il's rule was the epitome of tyranny, with him possessing absolute power as the supreme leader. He was at the center of an elaborate cult of personality, dwarfing even his father's grandeur. His persona was not just the product of simple adulation, but was the result of a carefully crafted, state-sponsored deification. The saga of his supernatural birth, exceptional strength, and boundless wisdom were part of the daily narrative. His presence permeated every aspect of North Korean life. His image was ubiquitous, his decrees were the law, his words were treated as gospel. He governed with an unyielding grasp, weaving a propaganda narrative that ensnared the nation in profound isolation. However, his rule was marred by multiple controversies. The most glaring of these were the horrific human rights violations that sent shockwaves across the globe. North Korean citizens were subjected to public executions, forced labor, and stripped of their basic freedoms, speech, movement, and access to information. His regime was characterized by frequent political purges, with dissenters disappearing mysteriously. The notorious penal system under his rule housed thousands in deplorable conditions in political prisons. Kim Jong-il was infamous for his extravagant indulgences. Amidst his country's chronic poverty, he led a lifestyle of opulence and decadence. He had an unabashed love for luxury cars, gourmet food, and fine wine. His extravagant banquets were a testament to his indifference towards the plight of his citizens. Under his rule, North pursued its nuclear ambitions. Undeterred by international criticism and sanctions, the country conducted numerous nuclear tests, elevating the tension on the Korean peninsula. This defiance led to the initiation of the Six-Party Talks, a diplomatic effort marked by cycles of negotiation and escalation, reflecting the precarious state of international relations during his rule. Kim Jong-il's reign also saw the continuation of the Korean War, a conflict that is yet to reach a resolution. The turbulence created by his rule, combined with North Korea's nuclear endeavors, shaped his reign, a time of absolute power, relentless tyranny, and global tension. His leadership also marked the continuation of the Korean War, a conflict that remains unresolved to this day. The instability caused by his rule and North Korea's nuclear ambitions defined Kim Jong-il's reign, a period of absolute power, ruthless oppression, and international tension. In December 2011, at the ripe age of 70, Kim Jong-il left the world, casting North Korea and the global community into uncertainty. The sudden hiatus in the leadership of a nation he had devoted his life building led to speculation about North Korea's future and the stability of the regime he meticulously constructed. Kim Jong-il's legacy is a compelling tapestry steeped in controversy and complexity. Interpretations of his rule differ greatly, dependent on the observer. To some, he was a merciless dictator, a suppressor of freedoms, and a grave threat to global peace. However, there is another perspective. To many, Kim Jong-il was a strategic genius who, against all odds, managed to retain control over one of the globe's most isolated and unpredictable regimes. Even posthumously, Kim Jong-il's influence echoes within North Korea's political sphere and beyond. His son and successor, Kim Jong Un, has not only inherited his father's leadership, but appears to have adopted a similar style. A style characterized by repression, defiance, and a cunning that ensures the Kim dynasty's continued dominance. Yet, there are subtle differences. Kim Jong Un seems to have a penchant for flaunting his military power and a propensity for a more aggressive foreign policy, pushing his father's legacy to new dimensions. The current political landscape of North Korea is starkly dominated by the shadow of Kim Jong-il and the looming figure of Kim Jong Un. The future remains uncertain, with the regime steadfastly following a path of isolation and confrontation. The continual threat of nuclear proliferation and human rights abuses remains a global concern. In retrospect, the life and controversial legacy of Kim Jong-il and the consequent rule of his son serve as poignant reminders of the enduring power of dictatorship. They highlight the vital importance of vigilance and continuous scrutiny against oppression and tyranny, not only in North Korea, but also in every part of the world where freedom is perilously scarce. As we delve deeper into the life and reign of Kim Jong-il, we must unpack the transformations North Korea experienced during his leadership. Economic, social, and political shifts had profound effects on the North Korean populace and their day-to-day existence. Striking economic trials marked Kim Jong-il's reign. The 1991 dissolution of the Soviet Union, North Korea's key ally, led to drastic reductions in foreign aid. This, coupled with a sequence of natural calamities in the mid-90s, resulted in a widespread famine known as the Arduous March. It is speculated that hundreds of thousands perished due to hunger and associated illnesses. Kim Jong-il's economic strategies, focusing on military prioritization, aggravated the economic sufferings of ordinary North Koreans. Social changes under Kim Jong-il led to an increasingly isolated and regulated society. The regime amplified its ideological indoctrination, fostering a personality cult around Kim Jong-il. State-held information control limited citizens' access to external media, creating an atmosphere of fear and repression where dissent was harshly quelled and human rights were routinely violated. Politically, Kim Jong-il's reign was marked by steadfast opposition to the West, particularly the US. His regime vigorously pursued nuclear weapons development, leading to international sanctions and further isolating the country. The political structure remained autocratic, with Kim Jong-il making all crucial decisions and exercising absolute power. The impact of these policies on the North Korean populace was significant. Life was dominated by chronic food shortages, frequent power outages, and limited basic services. Freedom of expression was virtually non-existent, and citizens lived under the perpetual threat of surveillance, detention, and punishment. In essence, Kim Jong-il's rule resulted in substantial economic hardship, social repression, and political isolation. His policies indelibly shaped North Korea's trajectory and significantly impacted its citizens' lives. As we continue to assess his legacy, it is crucial to remember these realities and their implications. Voiceover. As we navigate through the labyrinth of Kim Jong-il's rule, it becomes imperative to examine his foreign policy. Under Kim Jong-il, North Korea's international relations were akin to a strategic chess game, with key players being South Korea, the US, and China. With South Korea, it was a complex interplay of cooperation and conflict. The Sunshine Policy in the 1990s and early 2000s, marked by inter-Korean summits and cultural exchanges, signaled periods of détente, but these periods were often disrupted by nuclear tests and military friction. The US, a longtime foe, was viewed with deep mistrust by Kim's regime. Despite negotiations and accords, progress was frequently stalled by North Korea's nuclear pursuits and the US's push for denuclearization. China emerged as North Korea's staunchest ally. Despite occasional complications, China's role as North Korea's main economic and political partner was crucial during Kim's rule. A noteworthy event in Kim's foreign policy was the Six-Party Talks, which began in 2003. The talks, which involved North and South Korea, the US, China, Russia, and Japan, aimed to dismantle North Korea's nuclear program. They saw initial success, with North Korea committing to abandon nuclear weapons and programs in a 2005 joint statement. However, the talks hit a roadblock in 2009 after North Korea's long-range rocket launch and subsequent nuclear test. In summary, Kim's foreign policy was a web of alliances, conflicts, and negotiations, reflecting his ambition to retain power domestically while maneuvering in international politics. As we move forward, it is essential to understand this aspect of his rule, as it continues to shape North Korea's interactions with the world today. Voiceover. As we delve deeper into the history of North Korea under Kim Jong Il, a significant event comes to light: the transition of leadership to his youngest son, Kim Jong Un. This transfer of power was enshrouded in enigma and suspense, echoing the general tone of North Korea's internal dealings. The entire process instigated in the late 2000s, with news trickling out about Kim Jong-il's declining health. Consequently, Kim Jong Un, who at that time was a young lad and relatively unknown, was abruptly brought into the public eye. He was slowly unveiled to the citizens and started receiving high-ranking designations within the Workers' Party and the military, thus signifying his rise as the prospective leader. In 2011, subsequent to Kim Jong-il's death, Kim Jong-un officially took the helm of leadership. The international community observed with anticipatory unease as this youthful, unseasoned leader assumed the control of one of the most clandestine and erratic nations on the globe. Within the boundaries of North Korea, the transition was characterized by an overwhelming display of public mourning for Kim Jong-il and an almost sanctification of Kim Jong-un. The state-controlled media built an image of consistency and steadiness, underlining the younger Kim's resemblance to his predecessors and reinforcing the concept of the Kim dynasty's God-given right to sovereignty. On the international front, reactions were diverse. Some held out hope that Kim Jong-un's exposure to Western education could indicate a movement towards transparency and reform. Meanwhile, others apprehended that his youth and lack of experience could result in nightfall. There were also concerns that he might be manipulated by the country's military bigwigs. Amid worldwide conjecture, North Korea under Kim Jong-un began to evolve, honoring his father's legacy while creating a unique trajectory. The younger Kim's reign has been marked by a continuation of the policies of his father and grandfather, but with a distinctive style of his own. Despite his youth and inexperience, he has managed to maintain the regime's hold on power, and has even taken some surprising steps, as engaging in diplomacy with the United States. As we move into our final scene, we'll explore the lasting impact of Kim Jong-il and how his rule continues to reverberate through the actions of his successor. Thank you for being part of the Quality Content QC community. Until next time, stay curious.
Another one.